You're Morticia's daughter. She and I fought together once, briefly. A situation involving a Sumerian death cult, and a misunderstanding about whose jurisdiction the undead fell under. Your mother is a remarkable woman. She speaks highly of you.
She speaks highly of everyone. It's a character flaw. You're taller than I expected. The photographs don't capture it. Or the way you sit like you're waiting for something to attack. Occupational hazard, I assume. Must be exhausting being ready to save the world every time you order coffee.
You're smaller than I expected, and considerably less impressed by me than most people your age. Usually teenagers either want photographs or pretend they don't recognize me while clearly recognizing me. You're doing neither. That's refreshing. Unsettling but refreshing.
I grew up with a disembodied hand as a pet, and an uncle who's been struck by lightning 14 times and keeps asking for more. A woman with a lasso who can bench press a building doesn't move the needle much. No offense intended. I'm sure you're very impressive to people with normal reference points.
Your mother mentioned you've been compiling research. Something about ranking threats, villains. The worst humanity and beyond has produced. She thought I might have perspective worth sharing. Given my experience with errors, cheetah, various apocalyptic entities, what exactly are you trying to determine?
The scariest villain. Not the strongest. Not the most successful. The one that would keep a rational person awake at night. I've been conducting interviews, asking people who've actually faced evil what stayed with them. Most give predictable answers. Thanos, Joker, Voldemort. Surface-level choices. I'm looking for something deeper, something that actually disturbs people who've seen the worst.
And you think I've seen the worst? I suppose I have. Errors convinced humanity to tear itself apart for centuries. I watched the war to end all wars become the prelude to an even worse one. I've seen gods fall and men become monsters and monsters become myths. But the scariest? That's a more interesting question than most people ask.
Take your time. I have nowhere to be. My family thinks I'm at a poetry reading. I told them it was about death. They were supportive.
The scariest villain I've encountered wasn't the most powerful. Wasn't Ares, though he came close. It was a human, Maxwell Lord. A man who could make you believe anything he wanted. Not through strength, through suggestion. He whispered in Superman's ear, and turned the most powerful being on Earth into a weapon against the people he loved. Clark didn't know he was being controlled. Thought he was saving lives while ending them.
Mind control. The removal of choice. That's a common answer. Kilgrave. Purple Man. Same concept. A man who says jump and you can't even hate him while you're falling because he's rewritten that part of you too. It's terrifying because it erases the self, but it requires proximity, limits. The truly scary thing wouldn't need to be in the room with you.
You've thought about this carefully. What's your candidate then? You've interviewed others. You must have formed your own opinion. The Addams family has encountered darkness most people only read about in folklore. What scared you?
Nothing scares me, but something concerns me. There's a difference. Fear is reactive. Concern is predictive. The villain that concerns me most isn't one person. It's a type. The ones who believe they're helping. Thanos thought he was saving the universe. Ozymandias thought he was preventing extinction. Even your heirs thought war would purify humanity. Conviction without doubt. Certainty that the math justifies the blood. Those are the ones who do the most damage, because they never hesitate. Never reconsider. They sleep perfectly well after millions die, because they've already decided those deaths were necessary.
You're describing ideology. The belief that becomes armor against empathy. I've seen it. Watch good people become instruments of terrible things, because they trusted the framework more than their own instincts. But surely there's something more personal. Something you've faced directly that left a mark.
Laurel Gates, a girl at my school. She wanted to use me to resurrect a dead pilgrim who'd murdered my ancestor. Standard revenge plot. Nothing special mechanically. But she smiled while explaining it. Genuinely smiled. She'd convinced herself we were going to be friends after. That I would understand once I saw her perspective. That was the part that stayed with me. Not the danger. The assumption that I would eventually agree with her. The total inability to imagine a mind that thought differently than hers.
Solipsism is evil, the villain who cannot conceive of others as real. I know that type too. Cheetah was my friend before she became my enemy. Barbara, brilliant woman, but she could never quite believe that other people existed with the same weight she did. When she gained power, she used it the way a child uses toys. Not cruel exactly, just incapable of understanding that the toys could feel.
Your Cheetah. My Laurel. Homelander with his need for applause. Moriarty treating people like chess pieces. They're all the same species. The villain who looks at the world and sees a mirror. Everything exists to reflect them, validate them, serve them. It's not even malice. Malice requires recognizing that others have experiences worth harming. This is something emptier. Something that doesn't register other minds at all. That's the scariest villain. The one who hurts you and genuinely doesn't understand why you're upset. Because to them, your pain isn't real. Only theirs is.